Well, we're back. It's another week here on the Auburn Blitz podcast here in the morning, and Brett and Randy coming to you again. Glad to always have all of you join us each week, and another successful weekend for Auburn football, which hasn't happened very often this season. So we'll relish every moment we can when we have an opportunity to do that. And Randy, good to see you this morning. Auburn gets a win over Louisiana Monroe, and we'll go through that game. I'll get your thoughts on it. Andy and I did a live right after the game, and when you win and against a lesser than opponent, not a lot to say. Nobody really talks. We had a lot of people watching. We didn't have many people say anything, and I told Andy, I said, I'll trade that. I'll trade lesser comments for wins at this point.
Well, we've gotten used to it over the years. When you've got a bad football team, at times you've got a lot better show. And so there's a lot of upset people that's got answers on how they can fix it. And look, I've had no answers over the last little while, but Saturday was a breath of fresh air. I must be honest with everyone. I was on the road in Chattanooga, Tennessee with my daughter's soccer team in a tournament. So it was hit or miss on how much I was hearing, how much of it I was watching. So I've been doing what we hope a lot of you are doing out there, and that's tuning in to podcasts and post-game press conferences and things like that to see exactly how we played on Saturday. But I'll start with one. You and I have complained nonstop that if you're going to go out there and fix the wide receiver core and try to get some big-time playmakers, you've got to show progress there and let these guys know that they're important to the system and give them touches, give them opportunities. And Saturday, we saw 7 touches for Cam Coleman in the first half, 8 total for 100 yards and 3 touchdowns. One of them a straight-up highlight reel catch that he had. KLS continued his strong play this year. Malcolm Simmons, he's a no-brainer when he gets in the open field. You can go ahead and write it up. It's great to see those young guys that you're hoping will stay on board and stay a key part of what we're about to build at Auburn. But you got to prove to them that they're a key part of it, Brett.
They did that. I think that was the concern for a lot of Auburn fans is what's the temperament of these freshmen going to be at the end of the season with the way the season's gone. The temperament on the team's fine. I mean, you and I've talked to players. They're good. I mean, they really are. Now, again, we've got 2 more football games, and you got 2 SEC games. It's the last opportunity to get an SEC win at home this year. So I think it's important to them. I think they understand what's ahead, the number 15 team coming in the country, but this is not an unbeatable Texas A&M team by any stretch. 6:30 p.m. kickoff. If Auburn can come out and play well, they have a chance in every single they've played. I mean, there's not been a blowout this year. Let's put it that way. This is not 2012. This is not 2011 where, you played 5 SEC games and you got blown out 5 times. This has been a team of shooting yourself in the foot, mistakes. They've hurt themselves worse than the opponent has hurt them. So I'd love for Auburn to just play a clean game at home. The fans deserve it. I think the kids deserve it. They owe it to themselves, first of all. They don't know what's anything. They work hard every week. They owe it to themselves, and the coaches owe it to the kids to put them in a good situation, in the best situation to win a key game at home. And, Randy, like I said after the game Saturday, all of a sudden you win that game, there is something to play for in the Iron Bowl. There's always something to play for in the Iron Bowl, bragging rights, whatever. But you can do 2 big things in that game. You can go to a bowl game by going to Tuscaloosa and winning, and you knock Alabama out of the playoffs, which makes every Auburn fan happy. So, look, there's still a lot to play for. Texas A&M's trying to get in the playoffs, so they're coming in with ill intentions, but there's still a lot to, even though this record's only got 4 wins, still a lot to play for if you're an Auburn Tiger.
Well, the unfortunate thing for us Auburn fans this year is I don't think the parity is anywhere near where it's about to be. And I really feel like parity in college football is as good as we've seen in a long time, and it's only going to get better because those Bows and Joes that aren't getting opportunities to play out there, they're moving on, Brett. And they'll move on to programs, and it'll change the dynamic of those programs. So, when I watch Georgia play this weekend, Georgia turns it on in the second half, but that's a very mediocre looking Georgia team in the first half. You agree?
Right.
And then when I watch Auburn played Georgia, I don't watch that game and go, man, they're so much better than us. How can we get to that level? I didn't watch that and think that. I thought we had every opportunity. And so my point being, I don't think Texas A&M's any world beater. And I know Alabama's not a world beater. We've already seen Vandy beat them. I mean, my gosh, Vandy is who they are. They've got a good quarterback, but Brett, they're not some SEC caliber championship contending team. They're not. They don't have the players that match a lot of these others. But I think parity's really good in college sports, which bodes well for Auburn. And if we can get some positive momentum going in these final two games, it would mean well for the recruiting, which is important to us. We need to close this recruiting cycle out with some positive momentum. And let me swing it over and get your thoughts on one. Walker White goes into the game before Hank Brown. So we get our eyes for the first time on Walker White out there on the field for Auburn. I think that's a sign being shown to the quarterbacks in that room that we think this guy's got a chance to play next year. And so we're going to put him out there and see how he performs on the field. And maybe he is, as far as next year goes, a little bit ahead of where we feel Hank Brown. Holden Gariner's out. That ship sailed. He's not going to be back next year. You can go ahead and count on that. But Walker White coming in before Hank, did you read anything into that, Brett?
No, I didn't. I felt that, based on what Jason Caldwell talked with us about, that, we felt like if we got up big enough that you would probably see Walker White. We've already seen Hank Brown. And I think everybody had been longing to see what Walker White could possibly do and to see if – and, again, you didn't see much. I mean, at the point in time he came in the game, you didn't see anything that really set your hair on fire. But, I mean, he's a good-looking athlete. He's still got a ways to go. But he needs game experience. He needs real-time experience. So I was glad to see him get into football games. So we'll turn the page from that. We'll be a little bit shorter this morning because I got to get on the road to Phoenix City. The game of the week coming up this Friday, which is going to be huge between Hoover and Phoenix City. Not that I want to rush out of here. I'd love to stay on 40 minutes this morning, but I need to get on the road to do what we do. And quickly, Randy, Auburn basketball tonight, North Alabama. This will be the last game before they head out to Maui to take on Iowa State.
I'll be there. Be our third game to attend this year. It's been great fan support. Have enjoyed all. I think the ceiling's as high, if not higher, than any team in Auburn history if we can continue to shoot the ball well from the perimeter. Tahad Pettiford's the biggest storyline for me. He didn't score in the first half last week or this previous game, but ends up with 9 in the second half. He can go get 18 to 25 a night if it's on a need basis.
Right.
I think that's what you're going to see in Maui. Is how good is that young man? And they're going to need that young man to be that type of player because I do sense that he's what's going to stir the pot for this Auburn team to get some of these open shots on the perimeter. But he can go get a shot when needed. And Janai's going to do Janai things. He's going to go 15, 16, and 8. But Chaney Johnson, I talked about it on Friday, and we made a little post on our Auburn Blitz outlets. By the way, go find us on TikTok. We're going to try to pass along information and hope to push these programs over to some different platforms than what we've seen just here on YouTube and Facebook. But Chaney Johnson's averaging 14 and 8, Brett. He's up from 4 and 3 last year to 14 and 8. And there's no part of me that doesn't sense that this Auburn team's going to go through him on the offensive end at times.
Right.
Like we saw in that Houston win, and that's a big change up from what we saw last year.
Absolutely. One of the things that you look at is that this is a guy that nobody saw this coming. I mean, it's not like you didn't think he was not going to be a good piece to this team, but, man, he may have emerged as one of the top players on this team now. And, again, I don't think this is going to go away. You heard what Bruce Pearl talked about with him, how hard he works in the weight room and what he's done to enhance his game. And to me, the biggest thing for him is he realizes he can compete in this league. He realizes that he can play in the SEC. When you transfer from, a lower tier school and you come into a place like Auburn or Alabama or anywhere like that, you got to find your way a little bit and go, can I really compete at this level? And he was a solid piece that got better last year. And, man, he has just exploded onto the scene this year, and a pleasant surprise as a top player for this team. And, man, that just adds one more bullet in the gun for this Auburn basketball team when he's out there performing on the offensive side the way he performs. So, yeah, excited. And G said, how good has Chaney been? And, I mean, that's been the story. You love these surprises. We knew Janai Broome would be Janai Broome. We knew what these other guys would be. Nobody saw this one coming, and excited for him, excited for this Auburn basketball team. Again, they'll play North Alabama tonight at 8 o'clock on the SEC Network, and then they'll head out to take on Iowa State first in the Maui Invitational. I hope they're playing a lot of games out there. Hope they make a run. Hope they're able to win the Maui Invitational. How good would that be to bring that trophy home and to be able to get a big win? So looking forward to that, Randy. And then some recruiting news as we go back. Auburn picked up another basketball recruit, Sebastian Williams Adams, the number 40 player in the 2025 class. So, again, adding pieces to this Auburn basketball team. That's 3 commitments now in the 25 class. And then you look at, what all these teams are having to do with NIL, and your team is going to look different year to year now in college basketball especially. So excited to get that guy on board.
He's going to be big, and Brett, trying to get my head around some content that we're going to push out this week. We got some women's athletics news that's outstanding, and we're no different than any sports program. When we're winning, you support. You find your way out to support. Our women's soccer team won 4-1. They'll be on the road in Winston-Salem, and our good friend Will Spires is home over there as Wake Forest is the number 2 overall seed. But going up there to play, and our women's basketball program, Brett, I'm going to make a little post here today on them. Have you seen their recruiting news lately? Our women's basketball program is getting some top tier players. We're already turning the corner, but you add some of these women that we're adding to the mix, and one that's coming from overseas that I was going to talk about a little bit today. I've watched some highlights of her, Brett. She's 6'2". Her skill set on the perimeter is through the roof, and she may have a chance to play this year. That's the talk. And if she gets on this squad this year with already the change in scenery there at Auburn, I'm looking forward. I mean, we've got a lot of not only football that we're hoping gets better, but it's nice. I'll never forget, and this is something that's going to always be in my mind, is how much I enjoyed Auburn softball when we were at our peak. And so now I'm just cheering for other programs, and it can be the women's sports as well, just to get to that level. Because when you get to that level, I'm sure that's what South Carolina basketball is saying right now. You talk as much about that as you do any of the men's programs when you have that type of product that you're putting out there. And I think Auburn's getting a lot closer in several other sports too.
Yeah, it's effort. I mean, yeah, you can be good in whatever you set your mind to be. I mean, I think that's really how programs get to the level that they get to. Are they a priority? Are the the outside of the main COG program at every school, are all the other sports just as important? And can you do the things that you need to do to give yourself a chance to compete at the highest level? And Auburn's proven that. Look, for all the things that we say and laugh and kid about football, the one thing that is a extreme positive for Auburn athletics is the rest of our programs, all of them. I'm happy with where we are in all of them. I mean, our gymnastics program, our women's softball program kind of took a step back. They've got new leadership now, and by all stretches, everybody's excited about what those
track and field.
Yeah, I mean, you go down the whole list. I mean, they almost won a national title in track and field. So that is, you can compete where you put your priority. Can you put your priority on everything? Right? I think you have to pick and choose sometimes, but right now, it's also about the leader and what they do as far as lobbying for their program to get their share of the pie. In volleyball and all these sports, you see Coach Harris in women's basketball. You just look at it. She goes, "Why do we have to take a back seat to the men? Why can't we fill up Auburn Arena? Why can't we be as good as South Carolina? Can we get everybody behind us? Can we get everybody on board to give us the funds and the the resources to go out and get the best players. If we can go get the best girls players in the country, we can be number one in Auburn. I think that's the mindset. And I've liked Coach Harris since day one. I really have.
Yeah, you have.
You and I have talked to her multiple times. I ran into her at JR's one night over here in Alexander City. She was with one of a very good friend and coworker I used to have at Central Alabama Community College that I think of as highly as anybody in this world, and Amanda Harkins. And I look over and I'm like, is that Coach Harris? And then I see Amanda, and then she calls me over there, and man, she is just as down to earth. Of course, at that time, nobody really knew who she was. And so she's sitting over there eating some of that great JR's food that you and I eat all the time. And she said, love Alexander City. She said, been around the town, and Amanda was kind of showing around, but she's just got the best demeanor. And she looked at me at that table. She said, Brett, we're going to win a lot of basketball games here. She looked at me, and she didn't know me from Adams. And she said, Brett, we're going to win a lot of basketball games here at Auburn. She said, we're going to get the pieces in here, and look at what she's doing, man. She is a woman of her word. She is getting it done in basketball.
Well, we love talking football, man. I just told Lauren as y'all are heading out to Phoenix City, by no means go into Phoenix City High School and y'all not interview their flag football program. Number one flag football team in the country.
Absolutely.
Probably had the very best football player as a girl in the country, and Griggs is the quarterback over there. They haven't had a 40-point game, Brett. I mean,
it's
crazy. It's absurd how much they've run away with competition this year. So make sure y'all do that. I'm just kind of we want to talk about all of our sports. I want to talk about football and basketball as much as anybody else. But when we've got programs like our soccer program performing at the level, and if you go out to their games, I mean, we broke every school record for attendance this year. I'm not the only Auburn fan that notices how good some of these programs are performing. So on our podcast, we want to make sure we share the love. We don't just get on here and talk about Walker White till we're blue in the face, giving the same takes that everybody else is going to give. I want to make sure we're talking about some of the peripheral programs that don't get talked about as much, and maybe we can help build those up and help build the talk around those programs up, and then cover them when they're winning championships, because I think we're very close in several of these sports.
All right. G said Cheney trains with JC's AAU coach and all season, LaDarren Smith. And then LaDarren pops on here and has said, just said Cheney has been putting in elite level preparation. It will only continue and become greater because he has great character and belief in what he's doing. Good to hear from both of you guys this morning. Good to hear from you, Jerron. We love having all these new guests with us, and I call you guests because you contribute to the show when you comment. I don't look at it any other way, and we appreciate your comments and all. So, but yeah, thanks, LaDarren, for your insight there and what Cheney's been doing in the off season. It definitely shows. Look, there is no substitute for hard work. You can have a good skill set, and we see this in high school sports all the time, and you may not be as talented as somebody else. But at the end of the day, if you're willing to go out there and work your tail off, you can make up the difference in a lot of areas. And when you do have talent to go with it, man, you can become whatever you want to become. So, good to hear from those guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who that is. And the trainer up there, I had the unfortunate benefit of having to coach against him in AAU a couple of years ago, and he had one of the best programs that I've ever seen. So we had a really nice game. And Jace is Jerome's son, by the way, Brett.
Yes.
And he hit every limb on the way down. So he is going to be another Gamble athlete coming through. Unfortunately, he's in Hoover, Alabama. So we've got to figure out.
We got time.
You've been on the school board. You got to make sure that there's some type of role somewhere for Jerome that gets Jace back to Alex City, because you can't allow him to add to what is already a crazy Hoover athletics group that they've got there. We need him back in Alex City, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't think G'd have a problem with him coming back here either. So we're going to work on that. We got time for sure. So, good stuff this morning. Really appreciate everybody that tunes in. Good to get this thing started on Monday. Again, Auburn basketball tonight against North Alabama at 8:00. And then all throughout the week, we'll be previewing the Auburn Texas A&M game. Look, I'm going to say this before we go out. I mean, it's not going to go undersold. I think 6:30 kickoff in Jordan-Hare Stadium, the number 15 team coming in. Auburn, they said it on the broadcast Saturday, Randy. Auburn's got a top 15 defense in the country.
Yeah,
I mean, they do. They play outstanding, and they have played well all year long. I tip my hat to DJ Durkin, and they said it on the broadcast. They said, man, he'd probably be up for the Broyles Award if he were on a 8-1 team, 9-1 team right now, and Auburn was looking at the playoffs, because he's got Auburn's defense at a level, man. I don't think we talk about that enough, because we get caught up in how bad the season's been overall. But, man, what kind of product he's putting on the field and using a lot of young guys. You know, this is not some senior-laden, multi-All-American defense. He's got a bunch of freshmen out there, and they're performing, and they're getting better every week. And, man, that just bodes well for the future.
Well, the Auburn people I respect see it. I've not heard one negative comment about that defense, the culture he's building, the way that they play, the physicality that they play with. That's what I expect out of an Auburn-led team, and we're getting it there. So I hope we make Coach Durkin realize how much he's appreciated by us Auburn fans, and let's get the offense up to their level, and let's start playing for championships. Because if this offense, which is led by Hugh Freeze, can get to the level that defense already is in a short span of time, I think we're getting closer. And we're not going to throw out there on the field a product or players that are underperforming to the level of what we see at Alabama and Georgia much longer if we can hold on to the recruits that we've got. And I think we're about to. I think if there's one positive around Hugh Freeze, this is recruiting. Just got to get this offense up to that level, and they'll have a great opportunity this weekend to do it against a team that's very beatable in Texas A&M.
Would be a huge win Saturday night. I mean, look, we're not playing for a championship this year, but for the direction of our program going into the offseason, for this recruiting class that's going to sign here in a couple of weeks, it's just huge. I mean, you want to win, you want to play a night game in Jordan-Hare Stadium. You want to go against a top-ranked team, and you want to showcase and try to get some of that mystique back in that building that we've lost over the last year and a half. So a great opportunity. I think our kids know that. I hope our coaches do on the offensive side of the ball. Maybe put a good game plan together and get out of there with a win, and then you carry that momentum into the Iron Bowl the following week.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there tonight. Make sure to tune in tomorrow morning. Brett and I'll break down the basketball game tonight and get you set for a busy, busy week of action with Auburn athletics, and get out there and support.
All right, guys. Everybody have a great day. Auburn Blitz coming up at noon with Jim and Andy, so make sure you tune in.